Hello and welcome to New Start at Home. I'm your host, Don McIntosh, and today we have in the studio with us Dr. Doug Plata. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you.
You are a specialist in family medicine, but also preventive medicine.
That's correct.
And one of the things we've been talking about is the lack of hydration people have. They're not drinking enough water, or maybe some people drink too much, but we want to talk about water today. How important is it?
It's extremely important. There's studies showing that for heart health, it's actually about as important as many of the other common treatments that we have for heart disease. By making sure you get adequate amount versus those people who are on the low end, the difference is about 50% reduction in risk of heart attack.
And that's probably because the blood gets more viscous and more sticky and maybe causes the coronary events?
We're not entirely sure, but that's probably at least part of the reason. I'm guessing there's probably more to the reason.
So what kind of water should we drink? Just tap water, distilled water? I mean, there's all kinds of exotic. I go to the store and I can see a bottle that, cost me $1.72 or, I don't know, a buck. And then I can find this exotic water that's, I'm not saying $10, but there's a big, vast variation, and they all have different labels and stuff. How do I navigate that?
The first thing that I'd like to point out is, regardless of the type of the water, getting enough water. That's the number one message, first and foremost. When it comes to the type of water, there have been a number of different studies done on this, and again, make sure you get water. Probably one of the more unhealthy forms of water is actually distilled water. I know this is going to come as a surprise and perhaps concern to some of the listeners, but what distilled water does is it separates out the minerals from the water, and what we're finding out is those minerals are there for a reason, in particular cardiac health.
So tap water is good then, after all?
Depends on the local environment in terms of like if there's chemicals in there. I think many of us have chosen to go with water that's like from a stream source, mountain water.
And then what about filtered with charcoal?
It's probably better because it does take out some of the chlorine and some of the other substances.
Okay, so how much water should I drink? I always hear this 6 to 8 glasses. Is that valid, or how do you tell?
The problem is people come in different sizes, they have different needs, and if it's a hot day versus if you're exercising, 6 to 8 glasses is maybe a good rule of thumb, but I think far better is to actually sort of let your urine actually be the guide in terms of how much that you should get.
So my urine being the guide is somewhat of an interesting, never thought of being led around by my urine, but what do you mean by this? What do you mean by the urine being the guide?
Yeah, as we pee in the toilet, as you take a look at the color of your urine in the toilet, it's a pretty straightforward, but something that we need to really pay attention to, and that if it's really dark yellow, we're not getting enough water. If it's clear, then we know we're doing a good job.
So it should be as close to clear as possible.
Really, that's true. That's true.
And if you're seeing that it's not, you need to, I need to drink, 2, 3, 4 more glasses.
Get more water. But the problem is urine comes at the end. In other words, it's what you should have been doing before. So how can you make sure that you're getting enough? What you can do is you can use the urine as a general guide, and you say, boy, it's a reminder, I'm not getting enough water, so I need to do things to be able to help get enough water, as evidenced by a clear urine.
Okay, so I get my water bottle. Can the water be damaged at all by being in the sun in a plastic bottle? Is there anything that, tell us about that?
Yeah, there's significant concerns about certain substances within plastics. The harder the plastic, the better. For me, I actually got a stainless steel container or a glass container is probably the safer ways to store. And if you have it in the sun, if it's in a plastic bottle, that's probably not good. There's certain chemicals that can sort of leach into the water. But if it's in glass or something that's not going to leach out, that's better.
So the most important thing is get water.
Yes.
And get enough water based on 6 to 8 glasses is a rule of thumb, but really look at your urine to see if it's clear or not. Make sure you're getting the best kind of water in terms of the container so that you don't have an interaction. But the real bottom line is make sure and get water. You really need water.
That's right.
It's really hard to overdo it.
Put it on your desk, have it with you, carry it, whatever way you can do.
We've been talking with Dr. Doug Plata, and we're thankful that you came to be with us today. And we're glad that you came to be with us as well. If you want information about this or other topics that are very practical and useful, go to newstartclub.com, newstartclub.com, and you can find this program and many others. Thanks for joining us.